Hello again, Bush Construction Team. Well, it's been a little under 2 weeks since our last video update, and as things with COVID-19 continue to develop, our hope is to make sure we are continuing to communicate with you, the folks at Bush Construction, the effect on the company, and more specifically, the effect on you. While it's taken some time to understand our new norm, fortunately for us, not a whole lot has changed. So, first of all, the direct effect of COVID-19 on Bush Construction. This is the good news, fortunately. In summary, things continue for us about as good as we could expect compared to how things are happening with the construction industry across the U.S. We are certainly blessed in this. Iowa has not had a statewide shutdown. The state of Illinois considers construction to be an essential service. Some of my peers in my construction forum from across the U.S. are in complete shutdown mode. 2 companies in Michigan and 2 companies in California are almost completely shut down, and we are certainly in a more fortunate spot than they are, as they are having to make some very, very tough decisions. From a project perspective, we've had only one project indicate that they're planning to shut down. It's the St. Vincent Center. We are in the process of shutting that down right now, and it is likely that project will start up again next spring. From an estimating perspective, things continue to happen. We submitted a $19 million proposal on Monday of this week for a project, and we've got 5 projects bidding next week. So things in estimating continue as normal. As you likely have heard, the government stimulus package was approved. This is great news for the entire country. Bush Construction has completed our application for what's called the Paycheck Protection Program. It'll be submitted, assuming this SBA's website stays open. It'll be submitted today or tomorrow, as soon as applications are allowed to be submitted. And while we don't know how this epidemic will affect Bush Construction, we're trying to plan for the worst. Our application will be submitted in the program that has really been structured for businesses like us who either have been affected or will be affected by COVID-19. So that was the business perspective. Now from a health perspective, and this is probably the not quite so good news. While we've had no known cases of COVID-19 at our offices or our job sites, we are very fortunate for this, but we are not yet out of the woods. I was speaking with a former Genesis board member, and he said the healthcare community understands that in a community like the Quad Cities, from the time the first case is discovered till we hit our peak, it's believed to be about a 2-month period. So that would mean early to mid-May for the Quad Cities, for the time when the new daily cases go from increasing to stabilized and decreasing. So now is the time to be proactive before the wildfire starts. You've heard about the communities where it has spread like wildfire. We do not want that to be us. We do not want to be the hot spot here at Bush Construction. So we can't make decisions for the entire community, but we can make the decisions that affect us directly at Bush Construction. So that brings us to the personal perspective. We are asking everyone to reevaluate their current daily activities. Over the last, well, actually during the month of March, it seems the buzzwords have been hand wash, sanitize, social distance. If you haven't gotten serious about these things yet, please do so now. On our job sites, Clorox wipe those surfaces that are touched often by folks. When we're in closed spaces, to the extent that we can on our job sites, avoid direct contact or being in close proximity with other folks. Let's get creative. Is there a way to do a morning and afternoon shift where maybe a foreman is managing things in the morning and a superintendent's doing it in the afternoon? Is there a way to stagger work in congested areas of the job site? Again, let's just do whatever we can to be creative. To our superintendents, thank you for everything you are doing to keep us up and running. You get it. You continue to make the wise decisions you have always done in the past. You understand the economy must continue. You understand workers on the job sites must continue to get paychecks for the economy to keep going. You know, Bush Construction doesn't have the right to shut down our job sites. It's only the government or our clients who can shut down those job sites. So thank you for understanding. For those Bush Construction team members that can work from home, we are asking you now more specifically. 2 weeks ago, it was an authorization to work from home, but let me be very clear. Now the request is, we want you to work from home. Please work from home. Do your part to make sure that we are not spreading the virus among those folks at Bush Construction. So the message shifts from you are allowed to work at home to you are requested and asked to please work from home. Only go to the jobs or to the office if you really need to. Just like our job sites, work must go on. So there will be things that simply can't be done from home. For instance, bid days. I don't know how we could ever manage one of our bid days this upcoming week or in the future from home. So bid days must continue to happen. Scanning and printing. If it can't be done at home, it must be done in the office. That is certainly understood. There may be some things that we must do on the network. Those things have got to be done in the office. The goal is that if we've got 80 people in 15,000 square feet, we are certainly more at risk of spreading the virus to each other than if we've got 10 or so people who, those 10 people must be in the office. We can social distance a whole lot better and lower the risk that we're going to infect each other by limiting the people in the office. So that is our request. Please stay away from the office unless you absolutely must be there. So, to anyone that says, I'm healthy, I don't need to social distance, here's a scenario I'd like you to consider. And I'll pick on Rob and Jared for a second. First of all, because we've discussed this decision to ask people to stay home if they are able to do their work from home, but also because they're good sports. So, let's assume for a moment that Rob Davis's wife works in the healthcare industry in a hospital. It's reasonable to think that she could become infected by a coronavirus during the course of her work. Now the reports are that it takes anywhere from 2 to 14 days for the virus to appear. So let's say on day 1, she contracts the virus and gives it to Rob. Okay. On day 2, Rob comes to work and pulls on the same door handle that Jared does, and Jared gets it. On day 3, Jared takes it home and gives it to his kids. Now, for the purposes of this story, let's assume for a second that he's got small children at home and his parents are taking care of those kids. On day 4, Jared's kids give the virus to Jared's parents. On day 5, on day 4, Jared gives it to his young kids, and on day 5, his young kids give it to his parents. And maybe his parents are an at-risk population. So, in 5 days, which is well within the 14-day incubation period for this virus, and before Rob's wife Kristen has any symptoms of the virus, an at-risk population has been infected with the virus. It is that serious. So my goal with this is not to be do any fear-mongering, but instead to ask people to take this virus seriously. Reports are coming out right now that only the most acute cases were reported in China. So there appear to be far more cases than they actually reported, which is good news because the mortality rate goes down, but it's bad news because it underemphasizes how contagious this virus really is. So we need to be making decisions not based on our young, healthy team members at Bush Construction, but based on those folks who may be affected by our team. We can't live in a bubble. Anybody can get affected at the gas station, buying groceries, at a job site. This is what we understand. But we are just asking folks to be more thoughtful about the things they can do to do their part. For those of you working from home, telecommuting limits our interaction. Our ability to communicate is not so good over the phone as it was when we were able to speak face-to-face. So I'd like to ask us to establish a couple new social norms that'll help us not let telecommuting get in our way of good communication. First of all, while this doesn't apply to everybody, some folks consider calling on the cell phone to be a sacred thing. You don't want to bother somebody by calling them on their cell phone because, again, it feels like you're disrupting them. This does not apply to everybody, but to the folks who did feel that way, please call them on their cell phone. And to the folks that are receiving those phone calls, please understand that this is the way people must contact you. So to the people calling, don't feel bad calling. To the people that are receiving the phone calls, don't feel bad receiving them. Don't feel bad flushing the phone call. Call back when you can. But I'd like us to expand our desire and our willingness to call people on their cell phones. That is sort of our lifeline. Additionally, because we don't have FaceTime with each other in the office, I'd love to have those folks who are telecommuting continue to consider video conferencing. As I mentioned in the last video, I hadn't FaceTime with anybody but my family until this virus happened. And over the last about a week and a half, it feels like I've spent half of my life on video conference. You've probably read that communication, only 20% of it happens in the written word. So email is not a suitable alternative. Even voice conversation, while you get better than 20% communication in voice communication, I am encouraging us to utilize video conference even when it's a face-to-face conversation. If there is a situation where you would have walked into someone's office and wanted to have a conversation, I'm encouraging you to do that with video conference, because that is one of the ways that we will counteract the negative effect that telecommuting and the lack of face-to-face interaction may have among each other. If you feel the need to shelter in place, your safety is our first concern. And whether you are a pre-construction manager who doesn't feel safe coming into the office for a hard bid, or you are a foreman on the job site who literally can't do your project remotely, if you feel the requirements of your work put you in a risk beyond which you are comfortable, every one of us has the option to use PTO. So I would ask that you simply work with your supervisor to figure out the steps we need to do to take action on replacing you in whatever capacity you had that, again, you don't feel comfortable doing and that doesn't allow you to work. Just to underscore this, we will not ask anybody to be in a risk position beyond which they are comfortable being in. So I've been asked before, when will this request to have people take this heightened elevation, this elevated concern for social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, how long will this take place? 3 days ago, Governor Pritzker mandated a statewide extension of the social distancing requirement to April 30th. This morning, Governor Reynolds in Iowa did the same thing. So we do not believe that we will make a smarter decision on this than what our governments are. Our governments are weighing this against literally shutting down the economies in Iowa and Illinois. So far be it from us to outguess them. We will continue to follow the suit of the state and federal folks who are making these really, really tough decisions. Bush Construction will follow their lead. During this time of uncertainty, it may be hard to stay focused and be productive, but let's be specifically conscious of this. We still have bids that are due. We still have project schedules to maintain. It's tough to know what, if any, relief we may eventually get from our owner agreements related to the COVID-19 that might allow us to have some sort of formal delay that's compensable, since we've not been shut down in either Iowa or Illinois. So our goal is to keep pushing to the extent that we can. We cannot expect the government to give us any sort of bailout program for the situations where we are not being productive. So managers, please work with your people to make sure they've got all the tools they need to be productive for themselves and for their project sites and for their work, be it at the job site or at their homes or in the office. Do your best. We trust you'll make the best decision. Push hard now so we don't make things harder for ourselves when this whole COVID-19 passes. As requested in the last video, take a few minutes to think about innovation. In this new environment, this new norm, what are some things that you discover yourself not doing that maybe you didn't need to do, as discovered in this new normal? Or maybe what are you doing now that you should continue doing in the future? For those of us telecommuting, I think this is a good run for us to sort of test this telecommuting. The normal world of telecommuting, we would have daycare. Our kids would not be home with us. This is a much more complicated situation than what normal telecommuting might be. We had to adjust going from 0 to 100 to set up telecommuting. So the fact that we've responded so quickly shows great innovation. This will be a test run on how well we can telecommunicate. So please do your best to stay productive. For me, again, I mentioned it's hard to imagine I would have spent a half of my day video conferencing, but I've realized the value of having a daily check-in with each one of my direct reports. And whether I do it via video conference or if I do it face-to-face in the office, I plan to continue. This is the one thing I plan to continue after the COVID-19 has passed. I would ask, please be empathetic to the folks you see in public that you don't know and to the folks that you do know here at Bush Construction, your friends, your family. People are being shamed for being in public, and this, in my opinion, is just silly. There are essential workers that need to get to work. People need to buy groceries. They need to get gas. They may need to go to Home Depot to buy materials for that project at home they were putting off for so long, and now can finally do because they've been laid off and they want to make a productive use of their time. By doing this, by engaging in the community, they are keeping the economy going. Thank you for doing that. We need to thank them for doing that. And at this point in time, it's really tough for us to understand what someone else's situation may be. So please be empathetic. Understand that you may not know their specific situation. Try to be understanding. Final comment, try to live life as you normally would to the extent that we can with this going on. Let's do our part to keep the economy going. Support that favorite restaurant you used to support by ordering carryout food. But most importantly, be safe, stay healthy, and we will get through this together. Thank you for being part of the Bush Construction team.